Good evening. My name is John Bazzelli. I am one of the 8th grade team members, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what's going to take place during the 8th grade school year. But just so you know what I look like without the mask on, here I am. So in 8th grade this year, as with anything, it's going to be slightly different. We will be sending a letter home that will include a Google form that will get the 8th grade graduation name. We need that by the beginning of October, because we actually placed that order. We do a dinner dance presentation. We're going to do it slightly different this year. We're going to also ask for pictures of the kids throughout their time here at St. Mary's, in their school uniforms, at different events and so on. And we're going to put a timeline together for them for that in June. New York right now on hold, sorry about that. Looking for possibly going in the spring to see how things go about. With that, other information, dinner dance, there'll be a meeting in February for that. Our first grade friends that we do, it is on hold right now. Our retreats for 8th grade on hold right now. So everything that we would really go for normal and for the 8th grade is kind of put on hold, but I guarantee you the 8th grade team will make it as special as possible for your son or daughter this year. I teach social studies, US history. We begin with government. And we introduce people into the United States and then the formation of government. I utilize My St. Mary's. I do not use a textbook. Everything that the students are going to need will be given to them, presented to them via My St. Mary's. So please look at assignments, look under topics. The topics will identify what we are doing, the information that we are covering, and copybook, notebook, how they choose to take their notes. I've gone over it with them. It is really up to them on how they want to organize it. I utilize Notability, would probably be the best for them in social studies, because then they can organize documents that I've given to them within the same notes. I would like to bring up my math team with me, Mrs. Briskey and Mrs. Morgan. Mrs. Briskey and I teach Introduction to Algebra and Geometry. And I'll let Mrs. Briskey talk a little bit about that, and then I'll chime in also.
Thank you, Mr. Bazzelli. I'm Mrs. Briskey, and I will be teaching one class of 8th grade this year. I'm very excited about that. I also teach 7th grade math. In our class, you're going to be learning a lot of general math, but a good bit of algebra as well, so you will be very prepared for high school. We do have a textbook that will be sent out. There'll be a lot of resources online, including on My St. Mary's and Google Classroom. And we will still be doing copybooks as you have in the past. And now I'm going to introduce
we will be utilizing IXL again.
Yes.
IXL for math.
Okay. And I will introduce Jen Morgan, who's also teaching 8th grade math.
So welcome back, Saints. I teach algebra and geometry in the 8th grade, so many of you have had me in 7th grade, and we'll just continue with that fun journey again in 8th grade. Our textbook will be online. Some of you are online learners or have it at home, which is great, and we do have some textbooks available to go home if needed, but we will have it online. We will be using IXL. We will have our copybooks. I will be using My St. Mary's and Google Classroom together, and so if you had me in the spring, you will know how we did that. And this week we've already gotten all of our classes onto Google Classroom, and we're starting to work on that just to make some of our paperless transition a little easier. So if you have any questions, you know my email address and is jmorgan@stmariesannapolis.org. So I'd like to introduce Mrs. HATFALVI, our science teacher.
Good evening, my name is Ms. HATFALVI, and I will be teaching all 3 sections of 8th grade science. We do have a science textbook. It's also available online. I will primarily be using My St. Mary's, and through that push a lot of different apps for the students to use to complete their work, both online learners, hybrid learners, and in-school learners. I'm really excited. This is my first year at St. Mary's, so I just can't wait to meet and greet all of you, whether it's online or in person. And here's Mrs. Geisen, who will be teaching religion.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This year I'll be continuing to teach 2 sections of 8th grade. We have our book that will be passed out in religion class by Mrs. Kittiver and myself after we start into our academic year. Mr. Bazzelli did do a great job and gave some good information about our different programs that we have in 8th grade with our 1st grade friends. Hopefully we can do something and connect with the younger grades starting later in the year. I've already talked to Mrs. Hughes about that, and I know that they're going to be looking forward to that opportunity as well. Our retreats, I pray we'll be able to have those closer into the springtime and have that connection with Saints in Action social service for us. Again, our books are going to be used, they're hands-on. You will be able to see all assignments on My St. Mary's. Great resource for you, plethora of information on there, great way to contact me, your teachers, also via email, just like Mrs. Morgan was sharing. Don't hesitate to reach out. We are on a new transition as we start our year. Praying for all of you. We are going to be having monthly masses, and we're on our first day of school, as we've already been days into this right now. Father Pat is just absolutely praying for everyone and holding virtual masses as he has, as we've all been experiencing this new norm in our world. So I'm praying for you. Reach out. Stay healthy. I look forward to seeing you in your mask real soon. And next is my wonderful friend, Mrs. Heather Kittiver.
Good evening. Thank you, Mrs. Geisen. I won't keep you too long. Just to point out a little, to add on to the religion, I do teach one course of religion for 8th grade as well. It is the history of the Catholic Church, which I like to point out because it's incredibly interesting. And when I first was told that I had to teach religion, I kind of stepped back, but then once I got into that, I realized that it's a very interesting class to teach. I also teach all the students language arts, and we have tons of resources. I link them all on my webpage, or my St. Mary's page, I should say, so you can access those there. You will, in the first couple weeks, get an access code to an online textbook called Voyages, and your students will also have this consumable book to use. I do have an anthology, only class copies, but if your child would like an anthology, if I use a story in here, I reproduce it and send it digitally to the students usually. But in the back, we have a glossary and things like that of common literary terms. So if at any time that your child would like to sign out one of these books, just say the word. I'm happy to do that. All of my assignments will also be posted on My St. Mary's, whether you are an online learner or in class, and it would link you to other things. I typically share all my presentations if I've done one as well, and you can find them either on the topic tile of My St. Mary's or linked right to the assignment. Throughout the year, I'm going to try to be as flexible as possible considering everything going on, but I insist that we have a great year despite the things we can't control. The one thing that I do want to say about language arts is it is the only class that your child has that has weighted grades, meaning every test, quiz, etc. does not go in at the same percentage. And I put a list up here, and hopefully that's not backwards for you now that I realize I'm filming. You can see reading comp comes in at 30%. So that's the highest percentage. So that's where your child would want to focus. And if you look down here, vocabulary and spelling just come in at 10 and 5%. So you don't want to put all your eggs in vocabulary. That's not going to carry your grade that you want. You really want to spread yourself out here. I'm going to have the kids glue something like this in their copybook on the first couple days, so you can always refer back to that when you look at Power School and say, hey, this doesn't add up and divide and all that stuff. So we have reading comp at 30, grammar at 20, writing at 25, vocab at 10, oral language, which isn't just speaking, it's how they communicate in class, participate in class, and things like that. And spelling, we don't teach spelling, but for graded assignments, correct spelling is required by the Archdiocese, and we do give them a grade for that. This information is on my syllabus, which is also on My St. Mary's, so you can get any of that information. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email or give me a call and I'll get back to you at my earliest convenience. And I think that sums it up for us. So we look forward to our great year. Have a good night.